I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
Fox 4 News is tonight taking a closer look at the circumstances that allowed an illegal immigrant and convicted criminal to remain in the country despite efforts to get him out. The Cuban national is now charged with capital murder for a gruesome machete attack this week at a Dallas motel. Fox 4's Alex Boyer joining us live with a closer look at that. Alex.
Hey, Steve, and I can tell you that the suspect remains here in the Dallas County Jail. You know, today we learned new details about why the Cuban national was not deported after serving time in a California jail, despite the fact that there was a federal immigration order in place. Theoretically, 37-year-old Yordanis Cobos-Martinez should not have been in the United States when police say he beheaded his boss at a Dallas motel Wednesday morning. The already once convicted Cuban national had been on an immigration detainer when he was released from a California jail on January 13th of this year after serving time for carjacking a woman in South Lake Tahoe while he was naked.
Do you see the dangers in not deporting people immediately once they're convicted of a crime? The problem is they want these people to be able to vote, and they also want these people to be able to, their presence alone, being in certain cities, it actually increases their congressional seats. By allowing amnesty and not deporting people immediately, they're literally trying to pad their base that is non-existent. This man should have been deported. Just because he's also Cuban doesn't mean shit to me. He should have also been kicked out of the country a long time ago. He has a poor record, but even just being here illegally past a certain point, he should have been put out. There's no other countries on earth that I can go to, overstay my visa, and they are not going to come find where I live and deport me immediately. Why are we giving special privileges to these people? And by not acting on this soon enough, look at the consequences.
But under the Biden administration, who was still in power at the time, he was released due to Cuba not wanting him back.
When people are so fucking bad that their home country refuses to accept them back, that's when you know there's a problem. And that's when it shouldn't be ignored. Actually, that's a dead giveaway that there's something wrong. Let me see. Refuses to accept them back. That's when you know, yeah, everything's working. That's a huge red flag that something is wrong. When you want to send someone back to El Salvador, Honduras, Cuba, and the countries refuse to take back their own citizens, that means these people should not be in your country either. However, when you're taking advice from people that are on the left, Democrats that don't have to cohabitate or live next to these people, then you are going to put yourself in bad situations because they manipulate you into thinking that self-preservation is racist, pattern recognition is racist, self-defense is something that a white supremacist will do. That's why this family became victims instead of victors. He did not have to die. There were two other people with this man, his family, but they watched him die. Why? Especially in a state like Texas where we're all heavily armed. Why was he not prepared?
A country has to actually have a formal agreement with the United States or an informal agreement, either way, saying that they'll receive their deportees back.
We asked attorney Eric Cedillo to help explain what happened, especially because during his second term, President Trump has ordered deportations to a range of third-party countries, from El Salvador to South Sudan and Rwanda, all willing to take them.
That's exactly what they do. The way they abuse our kindness and they skirt our laws is if the countries that you're trying to send the criminals back to won't accept them, well, then technically we can't send them anywhere because we try to be good people, good stewards, and we try to follow every word of the law. But we must understand the laws are for American citizens. These people are not citizens. So we do not owe them safe harbor. We don't owe them anything. Once you're here illegally and we deport you, you go where the fuck you go. There must be consequences for ignoring our immigration laws and breaking into our country and overstaying your welcome, especially if you're a criminal. A beautiful thing is we signed a treaty recently with the South Sudan. If you're an illegal and you're here, we don't even need your home host country to send you back to, because you'll likely find a way back here. We'll send you to somewhere in Africa. Now you can make Africa great again, because from what I keep hearing from everyone, the strength of our country came from immigration. You know what that tells me? That maybe the United States has had a monopoly on immigration for too long. It seems as if we need to spread the immigrant wealth, so be it, amongst the other countries. That way we're not just a monopoly and just hogging all the good people. Now you can have them. Now they can make Africa great again. And it's still MAGA. It's still MAGA, so it works, which is a good thing, right? You just want them to have somewhere safe to go. Well, they can go to Africa. They can become doctors and lawyers over there. That's what you're saying they're all here doing, right? They're definitely not criminals cutting people's fucking heads off in front of their families. They're doctors, lawyers, and engineers. Yeah, my ass. The fucking American people aren't even doctors, lawyers, and engineers. We got to deal with our own certain segment of the population that is literally out here killing people, making music about violence, celebrating Kurt's death, but they celebrate their own deaths. When their own people die, they say, we're going to roll them up and smoke them. You think they give a shit about you? We've taken steps to deal with that already. We gave out reparations a few years ago in the form of an injection. So that is our method of handling that situation. The last thing we're going to do is import more people that we have to deal with who don't respect our laws and do not have the same value for life that we have. And when I say me, I mean actual Americans that believe in American culture, that believe in the Constitution and American society, not these evil BLM and all these people that literally hate the country, the Black Army that we refer to them as, the gay and the Black coalition that hate the United States and they hate white people specifically. We're not talking about them. We're talking about actual Americans who actually believe in the Constitution. Those are our people. And this is what our people believe in. And our people are going to be the ones who have to deal with this in the meantime. Unfortunately, another immigrant paid the ultimate price. And I hate to play this next segment, but you guys do need to hear and see what happened.
True to suggest that that if this had happened more recently, he probably would be, sent to a third country as opposed to being released, out into the country. So it's a situation where, timing had a lot to do with it.
In cases where a defendant like Cobos-Martinez is in and out of jail, there are a lot of moving parts from the police to the prosecutors and courts that can complicate his custody status. But a statement from the Department of Homeland Security puts the blame squarely on the previous administration's policies, saying in part, this gruesome savage slaying of a victim at a motel by Yordanis Cobos-Martinez was completely preventable if this criminal illegal alien was not released by the Biden administration because Cuba would not take him back. Adding that President Trump and Secretary Noem are no longer allowing barbaric criminals to indefinitely remain in America. Cedillo says Cobos-Martinez would likely be deported to a third-party country now, but he first has to answer to the murder charge here in Dallas, so immigration status may end up being a moot point.
And this is
Let's move now to the latest in another breaking story we've been following all day long, also a tragic one. A witness just told us a man was running for his life before a suspect beheaded him with a machete.
This story is extremely disturbing, and we need to warn you that some of the details you're going to hear may not be appropriate for young viewers. This all happened this morning in the parking lot of an East Dallas motel just off I-30 near Samuel Grand Park. Our Cole Sullivan has been on the scene since minutes after the attack. Cole, police tell us they do have a suspect in custody here.
And Dia, they arrested that suspect just about a block from where I'm standing up the road here. We saw a machete on the ground in the parking lot where they arrested that person. But the attack happened here at the downtown suites. It unfolded just after 9:30 this morning, police say, and this is the scene earlier today when police arrived here on scene. A witness I talked to said this was an argument that started out loud between two men in the parking lot of the motel when one of the people, the suspect, went inside a motel room and came back out with a machete and began slashing the other man. That victim started running for his life, the witness says, and nearly made it to the motel office before he slipped and fell, and the suspect caught up with him.
What I'm hearing is that they were co-workers. However, English is neither one's first language. Apparently, they got into an argument over a washer machine. However, lost in translation, the argument escalated, and one man became irate and angry and emotional and went and retrieved a machete. Now, apparently, he was an employee of the victim. The victim is Indian, and he works the hotel with his wife and his son. Neither the wife nor the son, being sharing American values, neither were armed in a state like Texas. Why is that? Unfortunately, when you come to the United States as an immigrant, you're sometimes bringing your old values with you. In other countries, they are disarmed. So when you come to the United States and you find out we have guns, you're taken back, you're insulted, and sometimes I've seen people make comments. Until a situation like this comes up and you have no choice but to become a victim, what else could you do? You're unarmed versus someone who is armed. He had a wife and a son. Both should have had guns on them. Both should have had firearms. They could have neutralized this man, but instead they watched their father not only be brutally slain, but also beheaded, like they were in the Knights of the Round Table or Game of Thrones. Because they have listened to liberal talking points about how guns are so dangerous and guns are so bad. But what they don't explain to you is that the reason the liberals tell you these things is because when the liberals do come to attack you, they want you disarmed. They hate you and they are coming for you. So they want your defenses down. They want you defenseless. In this situation, this family should have been armed. There's no reason, especially if they own a business and it's a hotel, you have different types of customers at night. If they would have just had their guns on them in their holster, this is a constitutional carry state. I'm a Texan. Then the father would still be alive. But that's the problem. When they convince you to get rid of your weapons and be disarmed, what do you do when there is somebody coming who actually is armed and you're the target? What do you do? If you're not fast, if you can't get away? What if he had not just stopped with the father and went after the wife and the son as well? What would they have done? They would have just stayed there and they would have just became victims as well. And it would have been a triple instead of a single. The footage of this is horrible. He was actually kicking the man's head through the parking lot. This man, the Cuban immigrant, he already had charges in Texas, California, and Florida. He should have been gone. He shouldn't have been here in the first place. But instead, ICE released him off of an immigration hold, a supervised immigration hold back in January. That means we're too lenient. And he abused the kindness of the United States immigration policy. And it cost someone their life. And it destroyed a family. It's heartbreaking to hear.
That's when he got over on the top of him. And then he hit him again, hit him on the foot. Then he trying to split. He was going to go vertical. And he's going to try to split his head. But I guess he changed his mind on that. And then he started just whacking at his neck.
That witness, who did not want her face shown, says that she believes that the suspect hit the victim more than 50 times with the machete. Police say that he died here on scene, and the witness says the suspect never said anything throughout that attack. Dia.
Cole, what do we know about how police were able to catch the suspect?
Police gave a little bit of information at a briefing earlier this afternoon. They say that they were able to get that suspect because they had officers already in this area proactively patrolling. They were on scene within minutes. They arrested him, as I said, about a block from where this attack unfolded. They say, a witness I talked to say that they drove past just before that happened and saw a man who appeared to have blood on him in the parking lot of a beer mart just up the road. Police say that they haven't released the name, I should say, of that suspect yet, but police say they expect to bring serious charges, as you would imagine, against him. Dia.
All right, our Cole Sullivan reporting for us live on another tragic situation today.
You know, they want you to think that
Fox 4 News is tonight taking.
They want you to believe that self-defense is racist. They want you to believe that being armed and believing in the First and Second Amendments, especially the Second Amendment, is racist. They want you disarmed. They want you to become a victim like this man. They hate you. You know, it's actually, I'm surprised, but President Trump also spoke on this.
Following the horrific beheading of a man in Dallas last week, President Donald Trump had
toward undocumented immigrant offenders. The time for being soft on these illegal immigrant criminals is over, Trump declared in a Truth Social post. Expressing sympathy for Nagamallaiah's family, he said that he was aware about the brutal beheading, and adding that an illegal alien from Cuba who should have never been in our country. The accused, 37-year-old Cuban national Yordanis Cobos-Martinez, was described by Trump as a repeat offender with a criminal record including child sex abuse, grand theft auto, and false imprisonment.
You think progressives or Democrats or leftists or anybody from the Black Army, you think they care that he has child sex abuse charges, grand theft auto, false imprisonment? They do not. They want everyone for their fake war against white Americans and white supremacy. They'll take anybody. And they did, but he just did not take out the kind of target they were hoping for. They were hoping that he would go after someone like a Charlie Kirk or a kid that was white or a white woman. I'm pretty sure they didn't intend for this weapon to be used against another immigrant. That's why they have these ridiculous policies, and that's why they want to bring in these people, because they think they're fighting a war. The problem is the people they think that they consider themselves as fighting are none the wiser that this is all going on around them. They're just going on with their day, thinking, let's just leave bygones and let bygones be bygones. I think Charlie Kirk's assassination woke up a lot of people who were in denial, because just the day before we watched a Ukrainian woman that was slaughtered just because she was white. So we must now take these actions into consideration and make better decisions going forward on how we're going to deal with these threats. They must be dealt with. We cannot let repeat situations like we've seen over the past week keep going, because the question is not when, but who is next.
This individual was released back into our homeland under incompetent Joe Biden because Cuba did not want such an evil person in their country, Trump alleged, promising that Cobos-Martinez would be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Border Czar Tom Homan, Trump added, were doing an incredible job in making America safe again. The Department of Homeland Security later confirmed that Cobos-Martinez had been released on an order of supervision earlier this year after Cuba refused to accept him back.
I'll be honest with you, in my opinion, we should not allow countries to turn down their own citizens. Period. That shouldn't even be acceptable. But if we have to send them to third-party countries, then so be it. But there has to be a consequence if a country is basically purposely letting their worst of their worst come to our country. We capture them. We want to send them back and then they reject us. That means you knew willingly that you were sending somebody horrible to our country on purpose. I'm sure he has a record in Cuba, and I'm sure he's done this before. No one just willy-nilly decides I'm going to behead someone. It isn't a common practice. They sent them here on purpose. Like Trump said years ago, these nations are sending the worst of the worst, not the best of the best. And they're hoping that our country will buckle under the crime and under the violence. Luckily, we have the right administration where we can actually push back. However, we do need to identify these threats and keep track of them. This is horrible, but it is also preventable. If you're an immigrant and you're watching and you're listening to me right now, if someone shares this for you, if you're in a state where you have constitutional carry, you have a right to bear arms, being that you're in the United States, if you can get your hands on a firearm, make sure you have it. You never know when one of your coworkers or someone you cut off in traffic or just someone on a city bus is going to grab a weapon and come at you. And a lot of Americans are bigger than a lot of you foreigners, but a firearm is what we call the great equalizer. That's how you even out the odds and you increase your chances of survival. This is crazy. In front of your wife and kid, and neither one of them was like, go get it, go get the strap, go get a gun. Like, somebody should have had enough wherewithal to think we need weapons too. We work in Dallas, Texas, which is not a safe place because we know what type of people live in Dallas. Why would you not be armed with anything? So you're just basically hoping that you're just using lucky charms, that you're going to survive every single day. Every day you're working with the public, you're working in the hotel industry. It's a gamble. If it wasn't this guy, it could have been a guest or another crazy crackhead that just stumbles upon your hotel asking for free accommodations. Or what if it's somebody that doesn't want to check out of a room? The police can't get there fast enough and they want to attack you, and you have to defend yourself. You know, the whole purpose. You know, when this country was founded, it was founded upon self-defense. We're not even a nation built that was supposed to rely 100% on the police to save us like they're superheroes. You're supposed to save yourself. The police are just supposed to show up, clean up the mess, and do the paperwork. Leaning on the police, begging for them to show up instantly, that's not a strategy. That's why we have so many problems in California. We rely too heavily on law enforcement, and now that law enforcement is obsolete, they can't arrest black people anymore, or they're going to be called racist. So really, we have no grip on crime. Everyone's on the menu to become a victim. But in a place like Texas, I'm disappointed that these people, I'm not sure how long they were in the country, but it seems like they were here long enough that nobody could get their hands on a firearm. The son, because, you know, as your son, you're supposed to protect your father. If you were watching this happen, you could have put 3 in, and your father could still be alive. These are wild times we're walking into. You're going to have to make sure you protect yourself. No one is coming to save you. You know, tragedy happens, but let's all learn from this. Like and subscribe, share the video. Man, this is just hard to hear, but it could have been avoided. Next time, remember, keep it on you at all times. You never know what's going to happen. Right-wing Rico, single boyfriend. I'll be back with another story in about 20 minutes. Thank you for tuning in.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.